This is another video. It's sort of a video series. Well, it is a video series that I am going to be attempting to do. Now, I'm going to be reading Lord of the Rings ASMR style. So, we might as well get into it. Before we start, I just want to say that there will probably be a lot of failure in this because, let's face it, I am a failure. Just joking. But it's gonna be a long ride anyway. I hope you enjoy it. This, I'm hoping that I can do both the note on the text and the foreword in the same part. So here goes nothing. The Lord of the Rings is often erroneously called a trilogy, when it is in fact a single novel consisting of 6 books plus appendices, sometimes published in 3 volumes. The first volume, The Fellowship of the Ring, was published in Great Britain by the London firm George Allen and Unwin on 29th of July 1954. An American edition followed on the 21st of October of the same year, published by Houghton Mifflin Company of Boston. In the production of this first volume, Tolkien experienced what became for him a continual problem: printer errors and compositors' mistakes, including well-intentioned corrections of his sometimes idiosyncratic usage. These corrections included the altering of dwarves to dwarves, spelt differently obviously, elvish to elfish, the V to the F, further to father, Nasturtians to Nasturtiums. You could tell this is going to go really well by this first paragraph. Try and say to try to say, and worst of all, elven to elfin. In a work such as The Lord of the Rings, containing invented languages and delicately constructed nomenclatures, errors and inconsistencies impede both the understanding and the appreciation of serious readers. And Tolkien had many such readers from very early on. Even before the publication of the 3rd volume, which contained much hitherto unrevealed information on the invented languages and writing systems, Tolkien received many letters from readers written in these systems, in addition to numerous inquiries on the finer points of their usage. The 2nd volume, The Two Towers, was published in England on 11th November 1954 and in the US on the 21st of April 1955, so a year apart. Well, more like half a year really. Meanwhile, Tolkien worked to keep a promise he had made in the foreword to Volume 1, that an index of names and strange words would appear in the 3rd volume. As originally planned, this index would contain much etymological information on the languages, particularly on the Elven tongues, with a large vocabulary. It proved the chief cause of the delay in publishing Volume 3, which in the end contained no index at all, only an apology from the publisher for its absence. For Tolkien had abandoned work on it after indexing Volumes 1 and 2, believing its size and therefore its cost to be ruinous. Volume 3, The Return of the King, finally appeared in England on 20th October 1955 and the US on 5th January 1956. With the appearance of the 3rd volume, The Lord of the Rings was published in its entirety, and its first edition text remained virtually unchanged for a decade. In 1965, stemming from what then appeared to be copyright problems in the US, an American paperback firm published an unauthorized and non-royalty paying edition of The Lord of the Rings. For this new edition by Ace Brooks, the text of the narrative was reset, thus introducing new typographical errors. The appendices, however, were reproduced photographically from the hardcover edition and remain consistent with it. Tolkien set to work on his first revision of the text so that a newly revised and authorized edition could successfully compete on the American market. This first revision of the text was published in America in paperback by Ballantine Books. Wait, did I say that right? Yeah, Ballantine Books in October 1965. In addition to revisions within the text itself, Tolkien replaced his original foreword with a new one. He was pleased to remove the original foreword. In his Czech copy he wrote of it, confusing as it does real personal matters with the machinery of the tale is a serious mistake. Tolkien also added an extension to the prologue and an index, but no, there's no but there. Okay, not the detailed index of names promised in the first edition, but rather a bold index with only names and page references. Additionally, at this time the appendices were greatly revised. Tolkien received his copies of the Ballantine edition in late January 1966, and in early February he recorded his diary that he had worked for some hours on the appendices in Ballantine version and found more errors than I first expected. Soon after this, he sent a small number of further revisions to Ballantine for the appendices, including the now well-known edition of Estella Bogda as wife of Meriadoc in the family trees. Most of these revisions I missed out something. Most of these revisions, which entered Jesus Christ, I can't read, which entered variously in the third and fourth impressions of Volume 3, and which were not always inserted correctly, somehow never made it into the main sequence of revision in the 3-volume British hardcover edition, and for long remained an anomaly. Tolkien once wrote concerning the revising of The Lord of the Rings that perhaps he had failed to keep his notes in order. This errant branch of revision seems likely to be an example of that disorder. The revised text first appeared in Great Britain in a 3-volume hardcover, second edition from Allen and Unwin on 27th of October 1966. But again, there were problems. Although the revisions Tolkien sent to America of the text were available to be utilized in the British edition, his extensive revisions to the appendices were lost after being entered into the Ballantine edition. Allen and Unwin were forced to reset the appendices using the copy as published in the Ballantine edition. This did not include Tolkien's second small set of revisions sent to Ballantine, but more significantly, it did include a great number of errors and omissions, many of which were not discovered till long afterwards. Thus, in the appendices, a close scrutiny of the first edition text and of the much later corrected impressions of the second edition is necessary to discern whether any particular change in this edition is authorial or erroneous. I'm just going to take a sip. In America, the revised text appeared in hardcover in the 3-volume edition. This text was evidently photo offset from the 1966 3-volume hardcover and is thus consistent with it. Aside from the first printing of this second edition, none of the many reprintings is dated. After the initial printings of this edition, the date of copyright was changed to 1965 to match a statement in the Ballantine edition. This change has caused a great deal of confusion for librarians and other researchers who have tried to sort out the sequence of publications of these editions. Meanwhile, Tolkien spent much of the summer of 1966 further revising the text. In June he learned that any more revisions were too late for inclusion in the second edition, and he recorded in his diary, "But I am attempting to complete my work. I cannot leave it while it is all in my mind. So much time has been wasted in all my work by this constant breaking of threads." This was the last major set of revisions Tolkien himself made to the text during his lifetime. They were added... I'm confused. Oops. J.R.R. Tolkien died in 1973. His third son and literary executor, Christopher Tolkien, sent a large set of further corrections of misprints, mainly in the appendices and index, to Allen and Unwin for use in their editions in 1974. Most of these corrections were typographical and in line with his father's expressed intent in his own check copies. Since 1974, Christopher Tolkien has sent additional corrections as errors have been discovered to the British publishers of The Lord of the Rings, who have tried to be conscientious in the impossible task of maintaining the textual integrity in whichever editions of The Lord of the Rings they have published. However, every time the text has been reset for publication in a new format, huge numbers of new misprints have crept in, though at times some of these errors have been observed and corrected in later printings. Still, throughout these years, the 3-volume British hardcover edition has retained the highest textual integrity. In the United States, the text of the Ballantine paperback has remained unchanged since Tolkien added his new revisions in 1966. The text in all of the Houghton Mifflin editions remains unchanged from 1967 until 1987. When... is that even how you say that? When Houghton Mifflin photo offset the then current 3-volume British hardcover edition in order to update the text used in their editions. In those new reprintings, a number of further corrections were added, and the errant Ballantine branch of revision was integrated into the main branch of textual dissent. Beginning in 1987, the Houghton Mifflin editions also included an earlier version of this note on the text, which contains some slight errors and simplifications based upon what I then understood to be true. This revision of the note on the text, undertaken for a new reset edition of The Lord of the Rings, replaces and supersedes the earlier edition. The new edition also contains a number of new corrections, as well as a reconfigured index of names and page references. For its best possible version, the text of The Lord of the Rings is being entered into computers, which should allow for a greater uniformity uniformity of text in future editions. Rainer Unwin, for much of his life Tolkien's publisher, has reminisced that as a child he was told that the university presses would pay £5 to anyone who detected a printer's error in one of their authorized Bibles. I never heard of anyone who earned this small fortune, but I have often imagined an equivalent reward being offered 3 centuries after the first publication of The Lord of the Rings. It would take at least that long to achieve typographical perfection. It may indeed, but this new edition makes a significant stride towards such perfection, as well as achieving a desirable conformity of the text in the various formats in which it is published. The textual history of The Lord of the Rings, merely in its published form, is a vast and complex web. In this brief note, I have given In this brief note, I have given only a glimpse of the overall sequence and structure. Further details of the revisions and corrections made over the years to the publisher text of The Lord of the Rings, and a fuller account of its publishing history, may be found in J.R.R. Tolkien, a descriptive bibliography by Wayne G. Hammond, with the assistance of Douglas A. Anderson, in brackets 1993. For those interested in observing the gradual evolving of The Lord of the Rings from its earlier drafts to its published form, I highly recommend Christopher Tolkien's account in volumes 6 to 9 of his series, The History of Middle-earth, The Return of the Shadow, The Treason of Isengard, The War of the Ring, and Sauron Defeated. These volumes contain an engrossing, over-the-shoulder look at the growth and unfolding of a masterpiece in progress, unparalleled in literature. Last, I must acknowledge with great pleasure the friendly assistance and cooperation over many years of Christopher Tolkien and Wayne G. Hammond. Okay, so that was, well, it's not really chapter 1. It's the note on the text. That was only like 3 and a bit pages long, but it took about 20 minutes for me to read that, so it's gonna take a while for me to get this book read, which should be fun, obviously. In the next episode, I could realistically do the forward to the second edition in the same episode, but it's already 20 minutes and this is another 4 pages, 5 even, so I think I'll do it next episode. So join me for episode / part 2 of ASMR Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, where we will read the forward to the second edition. Ciao for now.